On today's episode of Banterpreneurs, we speak to Head of Business Development at The Entourage, Andrew Morello, about the terrifying prospect of business in 2023.
And Morello enlightens us about business ego through Roman history.
And our resident expert, Steve, takes on the Big Fat Ethnic Business Challenge so that we can decide once and for all who does business better, the Greeks or the Italians.
Solopreneurs, come on down! Unpacking all your business woes on the go. Your queens of business banter, Laura and Lindsay. You're in for a hilarious half hour of unconventional, unpredictable, unadulterated solopreneur shenanigans, jam-packed with pearls of wisdom and actionable aha moments. Let's get ready to banter!
G'day everyone, welcome to today's episode of Banterpreneurs. She is Lindsay, she is a creativity coach, an improv teacher, and she is sweating from areas today that we will not mention because it's 34 degrees in Brisbane.
It is very, very hot and I don't like it. I just need to say that. Everyone, this is the beautiful Laura.
Oh.
She is a performance coach, a professional speaker, extremely famous. Everybody knows her. And she's having problems with bits of anatomy hitting on door frames.
Yes. If anyone out there has ever been pregnant, you'll realize things get larger and you need to take corners wider. Yeah, that's my advice, actually. We could probably stop the podcast right now because it ain't going to get better than that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. What else?
Well, look, it might get better than that because we've got a playmate today.
Very exciting.
I know. We are going to be talking to the wonderful Mr. Andrew Morello. Say that in a very Aussie voice. So
Aussie?
He is Head of Business Development at The Entourage, which is Australia's largest business. Oh God, I had it written down.
This is an improvised podcast, guys. You're not used to this. Yeah.
It's Australia's largest training institution for entrepreneurs and business owners. So much easier to just say creativity coach and improv.
It is. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Head of business development at The Entourage. He was the first winner of The Apprentice.
He was.
And also, rumor has it, he likes to fashion bow ties out of salami.
Interesting.
Let's
Ladies and gentlemen and everybody in between, welcome Andrew Morello.
How did you know, Laura? You've been doing. Who's been speaking out of school? My number one rule is loose lips sink ships. So someone's been
talking. And I don't rat on anyone. Don't forget, I'm married to an Italian, so you ain't never going to know the truth,
That's
my
when
friend.
you're going to say Morello with an Aussie accent. I'm like, what do you mean? It's an Italian accent.
Yeah, but it's like an Italian Aussie accent, Morello.
It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid. Yeah. It's hybrid. Yeah, I mean, let's be clear about that.
This is still Morello's intro. He's a hybrid.
He's a hybrid, everybody. Welcome, Morello. Wonderful to have you here. Wonderful to have you here. Your reputation precedes you. And here you are. Now, on this podcast, we love to just shoot the breeze and banter and sort of improvise. So I've been thinking a lot about next year. I mean, has everybody been? I mean, it's hard not to. We're kind of in December. We're kind of at the beginning. How is it December, guys? Like, how has this happened? I don't even
get me started on that one. Like, I feel like it was January, like yesterday.
Yes, like 100%.
Guys, come on, you both sound like you're a million years old.
We are.
What? Actually, you know what? This is really interesting. Well, it's interesting to me. Doesn't mean it's really interesting, but it's interesting to me. I asked somebody, like, how come time's speeding up? And they said it's mathematical. And I'm like, hang on, firstly, I'm not good at maths. I'm not good at maths.
Compounding effect.
Yeah. So it's basically like when you're 3 years old, okay, 1 year is a third of your life. So it's a long time. When you're 45, 1 year is a 45th, man. A 45th of your life.
So that's got some logic to it. I actually
does it? Because I'm confused as
we need to ask someone who's like 90. We need to ask someone who's like 90.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And while we're there,
I think your next guest should be a 90-year-old. That's what you should be.
Okay.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Anyway, we digress.
We do.
I've been thinking about 2023 and like what's on the horizon. I know Morello's been thinking about it. I don't know if Picardi's been thinking about it because does she think about that? I don't know.
I just basically think about where my next meal is coming from, to be honest with you.
and as well, you're going to be producing a lot of meals over the next 2023.
I don't want to think about that. I know, but I don't want to think about it.
Well, it's a real thing. I'm sorry, but it's actually women's anatomy. I didn't invent it. Take it up with God.
Yeah. Don't blame Morello for this.
Do not blame me.
Okay.
I did not create this system.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to think about it. I'm just going to be in the moment and just.
Okay, great. Just practice present moment awareness and embrace
present moment awareness. Well, there's just stuff coming out of me. Can I just say something?
I feel like this whole podcast is actually just going to be this. I don't know if it's actually anything.
Yeah. No, totally. It is going to be this. And I'll tell you why. Because we're talking about birthing.
Yes.
Okay, see? Right? Hello. How's that for a segue? Right?
Yeah.
We're talking about birthing our lives moving forward in 2023.
Can I please say something before we go on?
Is it a birthing or a birthing? Which one?
Look, I just want to point out how ridiculous this whole thing is about how we get about the next year and the new year. Like everyone's saying, I'm going to do this in the new year. This is going to happen in the new year. I'm so worried about the new year. The new year is the next fucking day to this year. It's just the next day, guys.
Yeah.
But everyone freaks out about it.
It's kind of traditional. Like,
to freak out about it.
You know what, ladies? It's nostalgic. Like it's like
okay.
Talk to me about this, Morello.
Every year you got to go through it. But look, I think to put some actual meat around on the bones that we're talking about.
Yes.
I think next year the reason why there's probably a bit of a shift in what I like to call sentiment, right? So and I actually totally agree with what Laura said. Like it is just another year. Like I've continued to tell people that. But you've got obviously mainstream media, they blow things out of proportion. Like at the end of the day, like everyone forgets that Australia is this Australia and let's call it the Western civilization is a very wealthy way of living life now, right? So no one's like you.
Can I just interject here? I love how you've put Australia at the beginning of Western civilization. That's.
We are the forefront.
Yeah, it's us.
We are the forefront.
We're leading the way.
But like obviously, you might have somebody from the US listening to this. You might have somebody in Nairobi listening to it as well. I don't know, right?
Hopefully,
hopefully, right? But the reality is, like the majority of people that I'm speaking to right now are Australian entrepreneurs and business owners, and like they're freaking out about next year. And I'm like, I feel like it's become like my quasi campaign to try and. And that it's okay. Like everything's going to be okay. Like if you're at the end of the day, business will be business, life will be life. And at the end of the day, we live in this great country, land of opportunity, Australia. So I say to people, like, as long as you keep doing the things that you're good at and just a little bit smart about it and get your plan for next year, then it's not going to be a problem. Like at the end of the day, probably some of the people listening to this might not actually understand what is considered a recession, right? So like maybe take it back one step and go, an official recession is 2 negative quarters in a row. So it means 2 3-month periods of negative.
That's mathematics.
Yeah, it's compounding. Whenever I get stuck, it's compounding, right? So, like, I look at that and I go, okay, well, it doesn't mean the end of the world happens if that happens. Like, we had a really good run for a very long time. It doesn't mean people are going to be on food stamps like in the US. People are like, what if we end up on food stamps and food rations? I'm like, that's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
or toilet paper stamps.
Laura, don't make jokes because my father has a whole, like, my parents are down in my mum and dad were in Melbourne. Mum passed during COVID. My dad went and bought a whole cupboard, like from floor to ceiling, cupboard full of toilet paper, and he still got it. And I'm like, Dad, it's never going to get that bad. He's like, he could have.
See, always be prepared.
Be prepared.
And also, Laura, Italians, right? Italians.
And Italians, yeah.
They left World War II. They think it might be coming back. So
Yeah.
And they never seem
everything
to
comes
prioritize
back.
the right stuff, to be honest with you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so can I surmise from this
You
that
can.
Morello is an optimist? Can we surmise that from this? Can we?
Completely. I'm the eternal optimist.
And can I be the voice of the pessimist?
Yes, please.
Go.
I'm just thinking there might be some of our audience out there who are like, well, of course you're optimistic.
Oh,
Morello.
listen to
You're
this
already
guy.
successful.
Yeah.
So what do you say to those people?
Two things.
True.
Very good point, Laura. Two things. One, the bigger you are, the harder you fall. So you've got a lot more to protect. So you keep in mind that, when you've got staff, when you've got people, when you've got properties, when you've got, commitments, and, and I've, as you know, I've got a beautiful little son lying Maine, and I've got responsibilities myself, right? So it's like, at the end of the day, I'm exactly the same case as everyone else. But the reality is that, we have this, usual shit that happens whenever, whenever, as soon as mainstream media get their hands on something, it's like, it's the end of the world's coming, Labor got voted in, the economy's going to collapse. I'm like, well, since I'm not a Labor voter, but since Anthony Albanese came in, nothing's really changed, has it?
I'm pretty sure that's how it's been for about 30 years. I mean, let's just...
If not longer, right? So it's like, everyone, I remember the newspapers the next day, economically, Australia's in a disaster zone because Labor's been voted in. I'm like, is it really? Nothing's really going to change, let's be honest, right? So, I think it's mainstream.
So, Morello, tell me, okay, so if people are having this negative kind of thing, right, listening to the overwhelming...
I like to call it the jibber jabber.
Oh, quit your jibber jabber.
Jibber jabber. Okay, so they're listening to that, right? What can they do within their own mindset or within their own heart, depending on, how they're listening to this, if they're a more heart person or a mind person or an action person, for example?
Yep.
I mean, what would you say is something that can help you? Because it can be overwhelming.
Can be.
Yeah.
So I think and obviously where we are, you mentioned I'm in the office today at the Entourage, and so we get to talk to 6, 7, and 8 figure business owners literally every day, right? And it's like the quality operators are just preparing, having a good action plan. Like what happened was we came off the back of COVID, and everyone had this COVID hangover. Right? That's what I'm calling it. It was a fucking hangover, right? And
literally for a lot of
Am
people.
I let us swear?
Yeah. The day drinkers. I mean, come on,
Have I let us swear, Laura?
Of course you can.
Of course.
So we came off the back of this, COVID fucking hangover, and everyone's whinging and complaining about that. So what I feel like is we've got into the back end of 2022. Everyone's feeling a little bit exhausted, which is fine. I'm not here to dismiss or undermine anyone's feelings that they're having, or emotional challenges they're going through, or life challenges and so forth. But the problem is that and this has been cyclical for 1,000 years. Good economies, bad economies, life, good times, bad times. The same people from thousands of years ago that used to complain. The same people from thousands of years ago that were proactive. Are proactive, right? So it's like you can sit there and I look at the quality people that we speak to, and it's like, okay, they're not spending, it's December 6th today, and it's like, and they've already packed up shop for the year. The good operators are spending December and Jan preparing for 2023, right? Yes, have a break with your family. Yes, go and do something you enjoy. Go and, do a bushwalk. Go and, go to a retreat. Go visit family. Do all that stuff. But have a plan for 2023. Don't just sit there and blame it on everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, it's the government's fault. Like people, why? How is it their fault? It's like at the end of the day, it's like everyone's trying to blame someone else. And I'm like, you got to take responsibility for your own actions, and more is lost with indecision than wrong decision, in my opinion.
100%. And at the end of the day, the economy will do what the economy will do.
Correct.
Our customers, whatever, will do what they're going to do. So that's not going to change, but and we can't control it, but we can control the way that we respond to it, right? So like you're saying, we just need to have an action plan, try not to work our asses into the ground in the process, and keep a little bit of that balance and everything going on, which I know you're a massive advocate for, Morello, and just fucking take it one step at a time, right? Like I was saying about, I can't even say the words, breastfeeding.
It's come back. I told you. All right, keep going. Yeah.
Like that terrifies me the same as 2023 terrifies many people out there, but it's gonna be what it's gonna be, guys. So that's why it's really good to talk to someone like Morello, because it's like, okay, we get it. We need to plan. Maybe now let's talk about how we can plan.
I'm gonna swing on the other side of this, and I'm gonna say as an improviser myself and as an improv teacher, that basically we will never know what's around the corner, and every time you think that you know, you're probably wrong.
Yeah.
COVID's proven that, GFC's proven that, Donald Trump's proven that. There's a lot of
Joe
proof.
Biden also proved it.
Joe Biden proved that as well. Exactly. Exactly. And even speaking of improvisers, one of the best in the world, Donald Trump was the best improviser that we've ever had. He didn't know what the fuck was going on. He just justified it after the fact, right?
Yeah.
So I would lean into my own, perceptions of what you do in an uncertain situation, and a lot of the time is you do have to say yes and, which is the catch cry of improv.
Yes.
And that is, I accept reality for what it is. I know there's only so much I can do to change that sort of context that we're in. But what I can change is the way that I'm curious about it, because the opposite to fear is curiosity. Right? So it's interesting, So Morello, talk to us about this action plan.
I actually want to drill down and unpack that, right? So the opposite to fear is curiosity. So I think you've surmised it beautifully there, because like the good operators are curious about how do we do things better.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So like we use not to get too technical, but we use what we call like a 6-element framework. So we talk about like, what's your marketing strategy? What's your sales process? What's your product to market fit or your service offering? What's your operations, your finance, and your people and culture, right? So it's like, we break it down quite simply, but the solid operators and the people that are doing really, really well leading into 2023, and the ones that are going into it quite confidently are the ones that have a sales process that's battered down. They understand, like, okay, maybe you don't go and spend, $20,000 on a marketing campaign next year. Maybe you spend $10,000 and get really smart about things like, I know it's a bit of a dry topic, but like marketing attribution. Like, one of the big things that we talk about with entrepreneurs is like, where did you spend the $10,000? Oh, we spent it, $8,000 on $5,000 on Instagram, $5,000 on Facebook. Great. Which one gave you better? Oh, I don't know. What do you mean? You on 2 platforms, but you don't know which one did better. They're like, no, we just the leads came through and we serviced the leads and we make some money.
Yeah. So Morello, are you saying then that the quality of the decisions you make are directly proportional to the questions you ask?
100%.
Wow, what you are nailing this.
I am impressed. Rick Hildegard. Lindsay Hildegard with the training. Lindsay, we're talking about that.
Holy moly.
That's exactly it. It comes into the quality of the questions. One. Number 2 is the quality of the advice as well. Like, and as you said, Laura said before, like some people might be sitting there going, oh, you've got it easy now because you've made it. And I'm like, well, I would turn around and say the reason why I've made better decisions was I was smarter at getting the right people around me. I'm not that smart personally, right? So like I don't have an academic, any academic accolades. I barely finished high school. I wrote a best-selling book on property, but I can't even spell. Like at the end of the day, I was smart around like, okay, who is the best person to do with property? So I went and I paid John McGrath to be my mentor initially, right? So I used to pay money and go and spend with Scott Kennedy Green and John McGrath down at their office at Edgecliff when I was, 18, 19, 20 years old, because they were the best in Australia at the time. So I spent the money I was making then to go invest in myself and get smarter at it. And then obviously I pulled a Morello on him, became friends with him. Now I get a now all it cost me is a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, right?
Yeah, right.
The reality is like, you need to be the person who goes out and finds the right people to speak to, ask the right questions, as you said, Lindsay. Yeah. If you're not prepared to do that and remove your ego, the other thing is remove your ego. Like so many people, I see the biggest demise is that their ego gets the better of them, right? But the good operators, and I keep going back to these good operators because I get to spend time with them, 7 days a week. The good operators, as soon as you see their ego dissipate, you see their spirit come alive.
Yeah, nice.
There is some real validity and some beauty and some romance to it that as soon as they remove their ego, their spirit comes alive, and that's the reason why they're successful.
And you know what? The thing that kept coming into my mind when you were saying that is I think we need the right people around us 100%, but I think we also need, and maybe we need a person to help us figure this shit out in the first place, is we need to know what we want. Yes. Like, let's face it, we're all in business because we want a particular lifestyle. We want to be able to give a particular thing to the world. What's the thing you say, Morello? You pay.
Why you? My 30-second answer at 3 a.m. Yes, you've heard it a few times. I just remember that. I'm like, as you're going down that stream, I'm like, and then I'm like, yes, I've said it in front on stage with you.
Yeah. But tell me, because I love it.
Yeah, so my 30-second answer at 3 a.m. that if someone kicked down my door and said, why do you deserve to be successful, is that Andrew Morello wants to make lots and lots of money, to pay other people really, really well, to do the things he doesn't want to do, so he can do more things he loves doing with the people that he loves. Right? So that becomes
3 a.m., is this in a dive bar somewhere, or what's going on?
I've been in some interesting places at 3 a.m. Lindsay. He was not sick. They cast the first stone. I'm certainly a sick.
I think, I was going to say, as we say in improv, we should probably end scene at that. This.
Oh, yeah, and scene, yeah, end scene. No. There's something very interesting. We were sort of discussing a few things before we pressed record on this.
Yes.
And there was something very interesting that I really loved that you did, and this is what I love, that you just did it. Yeah. Okay, this is what improv is too, man. Yes. Like, you get a suggestion, you say yes, and you do it, right? And Mr. Morello, maybe people don't know this, okay, but he's quite an what would you say, like a Shakespearean orator.
An orator.
That's it.
That's the word you're looking for, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Use that word more.
Yes. Why is that not used, that word, much?
I literally only learned that word a few
maybe
weeks
because
ago.
It's got a, like orator.
And immature people can't
orator, oral.
I'm thinking, correct. You said it. I said it. A lot of people are afraid of it, but, I'm a great orator. I'm a great orator.
Yeah.
Tell your friends, everybody. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
That's how I was born.
Okay, now that we've built up to it, I want you to orate something.
Okay. Well, you
go.
Let's tell the story. You go to we're doing a mic check. And
yes, we do.
Do some Shakespeare, thinking that I wouldn't know any Shakespeare.
100%. I thought you wouldn't know any Shakespeare. You got me.
And I pulled it out. So I said, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I've come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do live after them. The good is often turned with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus said that Caesar was ambitious. If this were so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously Caesar answered it.
Oh,
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Entrepreneur, author, philanthropist, and orator.
Yes. That needs to go on the card, Morello.
Correct. That needs to go into the next bio, Laura. You tell me.
Yeah.
Done. All right. Guys,
just hang on before you bring it back, because I know you love to surmise, and we will go there. Yes. Okay, but we're improvising. I just want to keep going here.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
How I'm putting it on you, Morello. So, how does the speech you just made, how does that relate to 2023?
That speech I just made is Mark Antony's speech that he made at Julius Caesar's funeral, right?
Right.
And
so the end of 2022 is the funeral, right?
It is the funeral, but I think I can even make it more poetic than that, Lindsay. I actually
do it.
Shakespeare. I believe that all the world's problems can be solved through Shakespeare, actually, ironically. So, but I legitimately think that we talk about why was Julius Caesar was stabbed to death. He was stabbed to death because his ego got the better of him. Brutus says that he was hubris and that he was egotistical, and that was his demise, right? And I think as a leader in your business, you need to learn from Caesar's demise, right? Like Caesar had plenty of opportunities to pass, power back to the Senate. So not to get all, biblical on you.
No, I love it. Keep going.
It was like, there is a lot of lessons in it. So I'm born on the Ides of March when Julius Caesar was stabbed to death. So I'm born on the 15th of March, which is the Ides of March in history when they stabbed him to death on the steps of the Senate. And I think as I grew up, I loved being Italian, and Julius Caesar was Italian. And I loved Caesar for being the leader. but I actually think I learnt the most when I actually got older and became curious. Ironically, like as I said, I'm not academically educated in anything. Everything I've learned, including my Shakespeare, has been self-taught and self-learned, and that's because of my curiosity. But I look at that and I go, look, if you're a leader in your business right now, you need to be able to understand that you need to bring everyone into the business, and you might need to get your hands dirty again, and you might need to, 2023 might mean you might need to step back into sales for a bit. Like we talk about a thing at the Entourage called an entrepreneurial hierarchy, and Laura's seen this presented before, man, going from technician into manager into leader into entrepreneur. And I think it's great, where people can take themselves out of being technician and manager, and they can see, 80% of the time in leader and entrepreneur. But every now and then, because this is the reality of life, you need to go, if you got to go clean the toilets, go clean the toilets. And I learned that. Yeah. I learned that in the back streets of Moonee Ponds. Like I was very, very lucky that I grew up in my dad's service stations, and it's like I still remember I was like 11 years old, and there was a syringe, used syringe in one of my dad's public toilets, and I went and ran and got my dad. I was freaking out. My dad's like, and I was getting paid $5 a day, and my dad was like, okay, and he gave me a speech for 20 minutes about how this is bad.
Was it Shakespearean though? That's the question.
He did it in Shakespeare. He was like, "Thy son, let me explain to you, thy needle is not good." And I said, so he told me this, and then he goes, "Okay, now you got to get rid of it." And I said, "You just spent 20 minutes telling me how bad it is. Now you telling me to get rid of it."
Got to do
and I went down to go pick it up, and he freaked out. He said, "Don't pick it up." So I get a dustpan and brush it and scoop it up and throw it in the. But like I learned a lot at that point. Like I was like 11, maybe 12 years old, pumping petrol at my dad's service station. I learned pretty quickly, like, next year might be a year where we got to get our hands dirty again. You might need to go into some calls. You might need to get back on the phone. Like, remove your ego and actually see what comes out when you remove that ego. And like by hook or by crook, you're going to be forced to anyway. So you might as well do it proactively.
Just get into it.
Yeah, true.
And I think that's why it's so important to remember that, like, the higher stuff, the stuff that's really important to you, because if we're constantly asking, what's my ultimate outcome here? What am I really striving for? You can then go, all right, what do I need to do to make that happen? Last year, I needed to be, strategizing in the office for 80% of the time. This year, I need to be down getting my hands dirty. So I find always looking to the outcome. This is what I'm trying to achieve, but this is what I'm truly trying to achieve at the core. And ultimately, then it allows us to, number one, make the right decisions around what to do, but number two, make our peace with it as well, which in the process can remove your ego. So I'm sure quite a lot of people are like, if I go back down into the ditches, what are people think? They're going to think I'm struggling, can't cope, whatever. Fuck that. If your outcome is whatever it is, you got to do what you got to do. Therefore, the people in your life are going to benefit from it as well.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's probably good to remember. So I've got two things I just want to address that's sort of been said earlier. Number one, this probably sounds a bit off topic, but it's not. Morello, you said, people are probably thinking, yeah, but you've made it, and you said the bigger they are, the harder they fall, like Caesar. How's that?
Yeah, very poetic.
Yeah. But for that, I just want to bring people's attention to all of the one-hit wonders we've had, people. Just because you make it doesn't mean you stay there, okay? That's number one. Caesar, just because he made it doesn't mean he stays there, right?
Correct.
And then that brings me to, yes. So that brings me to, Morello, you're speaking about that dropping of ego thing, which I think is really interesting. And I think that we also need to look beyond the context and out to, there are people who don't have fucking water.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, and I know you do a lot of philanthropic stuff, Morello. Do you think that sort of comes from that realization about ego, and like, where does that come from? What is that?
I think. Look, I went to a don't judge me, but I went to a Christian Brothers Catholic school growing up, right?
Okay, I'll reserve.
Correct, reserve, because it was a good experience for me, and I sit on the board now, right? So let's just...
Okay, let's reserve.
I've got so many jokes in my head right now, but I'm just keep
hold it on.
That's why I said that.
Hold on to it.
Hold on, because I'm sure when I reposted something, watch it.
Don't. Don't do it because we can't edit this.
Correct.
Okay, I'm
Right.
having a drink. Please carry
I
on.
went to when we were younger. When we were in high school, they forced us to go to St Vincent's de Paul Soup Band, Footscray in Melbourne. And yeah, you hold your tongue, Laura. I know what you're about to say just then. And I still remember that set a really good foundation for me around removing ego, right? Like going there to the back streets of Footscray and Seddon and Yarraville and feeding the homeless, and we'd go to these. What was worse than homeless? Like there was people that were on the streets, and like some of them, you know, they'd elected to be like, I'm not going to get into politics, but they felt more comfortable on the streets rather than having the responsibility of like a, you know, low socioeconomic index housing or whatever it might be. And I remember the ones that actually scared me even more was going to like those low cost housing where those people lived in those rooms, and they were just like they're ex-convicts or people that have, you know, suffered from, you know, mental illness and so forth, and just lost their families and lost their jobs, and like there was just a cesspool, those places. So I got that. As I got older, I was very lucky to meet Geraldine Cox, Order of Australian Medal awardee, who went and started Sunrise Village in Cambodia. So I spent the last 10 years going to Cambodia, you know, 2-3 times a year, working in, you know, we don't call them orphanages anymore. They're called the sort of, you know, child placement centres now, because the whole idea of it is that we're trying to get them back into the community. But those kids are rescued from child prostitution, begging circles. Like, you know, I've seen kids 7 years old rescued from, you know, male boys rescued from child prostitution at 7 years old. Like when you've seen that, you can't really have a bad day. Like how bad can your day get in Sydney? How bad can your day get in Brisbane? How bad can your day get in the Central Coast? Like it's not that bad, guys. Like, yeah, it's going to get bad. We might go through challenges, but at the end of the day, you're right. And when you do put it into perspective, and perspective is a beautiful tutor.
Yes.
When you do put it into perspective, it does give you the nourishment and I suppose the, you know, the mental, emotional, the spiritual nourishment you need in order to physically get up when you feel like business is battling a bit. Go out and do that appointment because, you know, you stopped doing appointments 3 years ago when things were flying. Now things have slowed down. Well, you don't have to do the appointment. Like, it's not that bad. Like, get on a train.
So, Morello, just to juxtapose this.
Yes.
So what is somebody in Cambodia, those people in Cambodia, what are they wishing for 2023?
To have food, have water, find their family, find, you know, some of them, their parents sold them into those situations, right? And like, then you can sit here and you can judge the parents, right? But I've been on the forefront of it. Like I've met some of the parents that have made that difficult decision, and they would have had like 5 kids in a village, and they sell, and they don't get told they're getting sold into begging circles or prostitution circles. Like they're getting told that they're getting taken for a better future. And they sell one child so the other 4 children can eat. Like that is actually what's happening in the world.
Yeah. So juxtapose with, should I spend 20,000 or 10,000 on our marketing this year?
Correct.
And do you know what just came into my brain, which might be slightly now moving away from, no, we won't talk about what came into my brain a minute ago.
We're not doing that. We're not. Right.
Was the one of the presuppositions we have in NLP, which is everyone's doing the best with the resources they have. Yes. So, you know, talking about the parents in Cambodia, they did the best with what they had, and they thought they made the best decision they could in that moment. And I think that's important for business owners to remember, because I think a lot of the time we go into freak out mode because we try to predict the future. If I do this, then maybe this, and this will happen. But again, we can never know. So I think it's important to remember you are always going to make the best decision you can with the resources that you have right now. So how can you increase your resources? Do you get help from people? Do you go and do personal development? Do you read stuff? Do you do workshops, courses, whatever? How can you increase those resources so you can make the best decision you can right now? And then when you get into the next moment, you'll make the best decision you can then. So it's about not getting into that catastrophizing mindset, because that shit never ends well.
It's a real thing, right? It's a real thing. Yeah. And just to add to that, like, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, where it's like, don't put too much pressure on yourself, right? Like, you know, I've got an amazing father and brother, but they have this amazing.
It's not the same person, is it?
I knew she come out with a perler somewhere. I mean, that's it.
Just because we're Italian, we're not all from the same village. Right? You married one, you should know, right? So there we go. But I love my father and brother to death, but they're massive internalizers, right? So they were both bald by the age of 30. They stress out about things, and like my dad, ironically, he's just tipped over the edge of not caring anymore. Like now, my mother passed away, so he's on his own, and it's like I think he's at the point now where he's like, "Fuck it," right? And which is great. Yeah. Like I'm loving this new dad of mine. Like we're mates. Yeah. Like he was always so serious my whole life, and now he's just like, "Fuck it," and I'm like,
"Yeah, he goes that."
Like today, he's telling me, like I rang him and just checking in on him. I'm like, "Oh, what did you do today?" He goes, "I went to see the doctor to ask how many drugs I need to take when I go overseas."
That's so good.
What drugs are you taking? That's what I want. So,
let's just talk about where we're going to get them, Dad.
Correct. But like the moral of the story with the Morello of the story about that.
The Morello.
Boom.
That like you worrying and stressing does not solve anything, right? So it's like it's about as useful as chewing gum to solve an algebra equation, as the song said, Sunscreen in 1992.
Right? You don't know some of that, dear, because you know I'm going to get you to recite it.
I don't know it off my heart, but I gave you one line of it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Worrying is about as useful as chewing gum to solve an algebra equation.
Okay, great.
But don't forget, ladies, wear sunscreen. There we go. But don't stress out. There's a really good book I want to tell everyone to read, and I don't know if you have notes on the bottom of this podcast or whatever, but you can reference it if need be. But there's a really good book called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
I'm reading it now.
There we go.
I'm totally reading it now. We were using the warrior, the healer, the visionary.
Yes, is that where that came from?
That's what that was. Where I said that's how we need to look at marketing.
Yeah.
That's how we need to look at marketing. Because when somebody says marketing to me, I have fucking cold sweats. Okay? So I need to have a nicer, more archetypal experience.
We've relabeled it to it's not called marketing anymore. It's called the Don Fun Bus.
There we go.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Whatever gets you through the night. So is it Don Miguel?
Miguel Ruiz. And it's the 4 agreements. One of those agreements, the one I love the most, is always do your best, right? So it's like, like I look at that, and now being a father and a provider for a family, and and a son, and and everything else that comes along with and business responsibilities, property responsibility, life responsibilities. I look at that and go, okay, like nobody could argue tomorrow. They could argue it with me, but I can argue back till I'm black and blue in the face that I have done everything I possibly can to do the right thing by people, right? So it's like, okay. Like, God forbid you had to make someone redundant next year. God forbid you did. Like, touch wood, that nobody has to make anyone redundant, but God forbid you did. Like, if you've done everything possible that you can do in order to keep that person, and like I say to people again, remove the ego. And if things do get tough, go have the conversation. Like, I remember I was an investor in a business going back. This was coming out of sort of the GFC. It was one of my first investments as a young investor. And like, I remember we went back to the team, and they were all young in the team, right? And we said, like, these are our options. We either have to make somebody redundant. Like, none of us that were owners in the business were taking any money. We're either going to make one person redundant, or everybody can take a five grand pay cut, and we keep everybody. And ironically, no one argued with it. Everyone said, let's take a 5 grand pay cut. Like, it was like as soon as we were able to remove our, and look, that business later on became quite successful, and everybody got rewarded for it. But like, the beauty and the romance behind it was the fact that, I think if you are willing to remove that ego and actually wear your heart on your sleeve, and I have this saying that I made up, that if you're prepared to show blood, people will bleed with you, right? So
I
think I'm so afraid of showing a bit of blood.
That sounds a bit Shakespeare, really. I mean, let's be honest about that.
Maybe Shakespeare, Morello.
No, I'm saying you're channeling Shakespeare is what I'm saying to you. Yeah.
Way better than who you could be channeling.
Well, there we go, correct.
And when you said, what did you just say? You said something.
Always do
your best. Do your best.
That's one of
the thing that came into my mind as well was always be where you're at, because I think you know, I think a lot of people have in their mind, I have to always be the best, which
Yes.
is just unrealistic. And let's be honest, some days you're going to be tired, you're going to be pissed off, you're going to be
Right.
overwhelmed. Just be where you're at, own it, and then look at how you can remove yourself from
and the
that
best you can in that space.
Do the
So
best
maybe
you can
your
in
best
that
is
space.
60%, and then tomorrow it's 110%.
Maybe
You know
your
what I
best
mean?
is having a nap at that time. Like, that's okay.
But maybe
as long
that's
as,
what you need to do, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, like I make a joke when I'm on stage when we go to break. I always say to people, go, you know, we got to break now for 30 minutes. Go do what you need to do. Go meditate, go pray, go journal, or go have a whiskey. And like people think I'm joking, right? But they do. They think I'm joking, right? And they think it's cute and they laugh about it. I go, mate, if that's maybe you.
That's your thing.
We live in this world where everyone's so obsessed with doing everything that everyone else is doing. I'm like,
Yes.
don't become an alcoholic. But if you need to go have like a little whiskey, it worked for the guys in Mad Men, right? So if it worked,
Yeah, hello.
it worked for me, right? So it's like, I look at that and I go, there's sometimes, like I know, like we've got 49 staff at head office here at Entourage. And I, you know, I won't breach anyone's confidentiality. Somebody was having a bit of a tough time in their personal life. And I remember I didn't actually realize that it was 11 a.m. at the time, but like
That's when the pub opens.
4 or 5 o'clock most days. But like, by the time it gets to 11, to me, 11 feels like 2 in the afternoon, right? So, so anyway, I've done so much in a day. So by the time 11 o'clock comes, and I remember seeing that it was a bit down. He texted me the day before, you know, when I was at home. It was on the Sunday. He'd text Sunday night, and I think it was like a Monday. And I said, all right, you know, XYZ person, come with me. And we walked outside, went across the road, went straight to the pub. And then, like, the pub was open. So it's like, I didn't look at the pub. The pub's open. I've taken him for a walk. You know, I've ordered us a couple of double Jamesons on ice. As you know. Laura, you've seen me drink it. So ordered a couple of Jameson on ice. And like he's halfway through it before he turns around and he goes, it's a bit early, isn't it, bro? And I'm like, it is too. So
you were in the moment.
That's it.
But can I just say, it's actually, ironically, like I got a very beautiful text message from that gentleman that night, right? Now, he's a top performer in our business. He's someone who's a massive contributor to our business, but he's just gone through a bit of a tough personal period, right? Like, as we all do. So, like, taking him for a whiskey, and, you know, now we laugh about it, you know, having a whiskey at 11 a.m. Like, having a whiskey at 11 a.m. with him isn't the craziest thing in the world. And it's what he needed at the time. And it was a bit of humor for him as well. And a little whiskey. Like, I'm sure he came back to work feeling a lot happier than he was before.
Way more confident than he was before.
It's like all these people that go and read a book about a guy who climbed a mountain or ran a marathon, and they're like, I've got to go run a marathon to be happy. And I'm like, you don't actually. Like,
just drink whiskey at 11
a
a.m.
guy who ran a marathon and now he's happy. Doesn't mean running a marathon. Because if I ran a marathon, he'd fucking kill me, right? So I'm like, that's going to make me happy. He'll kill me, right? But
exactly.
I'll go and spend time with my son. Like, you know, maybe on a Tuesday, I'll go and, you know, etch out, you know, half a day and take him to swimming lessons and take him to Bondi and go for a swim. And it's like, okay, that's the nourishment I needed. So that when I roll back into the office, you know, Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday or Thursday, whenever I might come in and like I've got to deal with a problem, I can deal with the problem because I've taken the nourishment from what I needed at the time. But I didn't have to go run a marathon to know
to get that.
Whether I was right.
And I love that. And we talk about this all the time on the podcast because I'm obsessed with it. But we can't make good decisions and we can't operate well when we're operating from a place of fear. Correct. And one of the best ways to keep fear at bay is to constantly communicate safety to our brains. And the best way we can do that is to do things that truly nourish us right at our core. So whether it is spending time with our kids, maybe it is running a marathon, maybe it is meditating, maybe it is having a whiskey at 11 a.m., you know, whatever it is.
For you.
Exactly.
Whatever gets you through the night, mate.
Yeah.
Whatever gets you through the night. That's
and I think that's really important.
I also say to people, Lindsay, I go, you know, it's a victimless crime sometimes, right? So like, if you need to go do what you need to go do. You're not hurting anyone else and you're not hurting yourself.
Yeah.
You go do you, boo.
You
right?
do you.
You go do you, boo.
You do, boo. You go do you, boo. You go do you, boo, okay? I'm excited. Okay, did I break your thinking? Because I feel like the producers are like in my ear right now.
Okay.
Yes, I thought I was the only one that could hear that, but you can hear them as well.
I can hear that.
They actually do want us to
I think they do. Yeah.
All right, well, let's see what they want.
They're never clear. It's ambiguous, but I think that they want us to.
Let's see what they have to say.
Let's go and have a word. Well, it looks like there he is. The producers wanted us to speak to
mate, how you doing, mate?
ladies. Hey, Steve, how is it in Greece?
Oh, it's beautiful, mate. It's a balmy 40, you know?
Oh, my God.
It's bloody good out here, mate. I'm telling you. When are you coming out, mate? I've been wanting you to come out for ages.
I know. Well, I'm going to get this year out the way, and then I'll see what's happening, which actually is probably a nice little segue, Steve, into what we've been talking about today. We're talking about what we're going to do next year. We've had a big old chat about it. By the way, how very rude of me. This is Andrew Morello. I would like you to meet Andrew, meet Steve. Steve, meet Andrew.
Hello, Andrew.
Morello.
Mate, listen, I think he's called Morello, mate, because
Morello.
I've been following him. I know what he's been up to, mate. He's one of the big wigs. You know what I mean? I've got a big wig, but he's a big wig, this guy, mate. That's all I'm going to say.
And how's the economy in Greece, Steve?
Oh, look, we don't like to talk about that, Morello, okay? Let's just not talk about that here. Let's get down to business.
Well,
let's get down to the brass tacks, eh? The brass tacks.
Okay, mate, okay.
The no tax.
All right, fellas, break it up.
All right, mate.
So, look, Steve, I think I know why the producers have got you on here, right? Because we were just literally talking about you do you, boo, right, Morello? And so I guess it's going to be interesting to see how you guys do business, right? We're saying we've all got to have a plan. We all have different ways of operating. I know, having an Italian husband in business, he does things very different to how I do them or how I think he should do them a lot of the time. So I think it would be interesting to have a bit of I'm going to call it my big fat ethnic business challenge. So I want to pit Italy versus Greece, and I want to know who is the best ethnic businessman on this Zoom call today.
Well, you know, Laura, Steve would I'm sure will agree that the Greeks invented everything. But they probably...
I was about to say it, mate. I was about to say the wheel, politics, democracy, mate, everything, mate. Philosophy, economy.
You know, there we go. They invented everything. They even invented sex, Laura, right? But then
Did they?
They did invent sex, but the Italians we introduced
made it better.
There we go.
He's going with the innovation strategy, mate. He's saying that the Italians innovated from the Greeks, mate. All right, mate. You want to play it that way? All right, I'm ready, mate.
All right, well, let's get into it. We will just let the gods decide.
Okay.
So,
the Greek gods, mate.
There's only one Italian god, so yeah, okay, fair enough.
All right, mate.
And his name's Morello. All right. First question, I'm going to ask Morello first.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to set up a scenario for you.
Okay.
So you've got a new supplier for oil for the deep fat fryer of your fish and chip shop.
Yes.
But you don't like the price that he's given to you. I want to know, how do you get a better deal out of him?
You pay him cash.
Oh.
Pay cash. Cash always does better. Trust me. Cash, number one. Number two, you find out. And Steve, hopefully you'll agree with this. You find out who his mistress is and you take her out as well.
Oh, my God, a man after my own heart. I mean, the only way that I could, I was going to say, mate, I just tell him that my cousin can do it cheaper, mate. But, I'm out for a bit of a date, mate. I reckon that's a good one.
There we go.
Yeah. Look at you guys working together.
There we go. Maybe Greeks and Italians can do it better.
Maybe we can, mate.
Maybe we're building bridges right here on Banterpreneurs.
This is like the United Nations all over again.
Yes, yeah. All right, well, talking of cousins, so here's my next scenario. Okay. So your cousin, who you actually owe, because he beat up the kid at school who used to call you salami breath every day. So your cousin wants you to give his son a job in your business. Yes. However, his son is pretty damn useless. Yes. So I want to know, and I'm going to go to you first, Steve. What do you do about that?
All right, mate. So he's pretty useless. Maybe he can drop flyers or something, you know, make flyers, or maybe I'll get him out the front spruiking. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's...
I can do better. Okay. I reckon what we do is we put him in one of those sandwich boards out the front. You know,
like a sign Twizzler,
His little sandwich board. It's got, fish and chips, family combo. Put that on the little sandwich board there. Get him out there. You know what? He'll actually probably make him good. You know, there's nothing.
I give him 30 minutes and he's out of there. And it's actually interesting because I asked my husband, Italian, some things that Italian people do in business that we maybe don't do here. Yeah. And he was like, well, if you can't actually fire someone, just make them feel like they're useless and then they leave anyway. That's what we do in Italy. So there you go. You're right onto it, mate. You are
there you go.
Italian.
That's that. I was listening before to the episode, mate, and maybe that's a different redundancy strategy. You know what I mean?
That's how you make them redundant.
Yeah,
redundancy, forced redundancy.
All right, I'm gonna give that point to Morello because I do think that was a better idea. In all, you know. Yeah,
I'm going to agree with you, Steve. All right, so
garlic
toborico. Yeah,
you heard it here first.
There we go.
All right, last question. So you are both going on a business retreat in a resort in Fiji where you will undoubtedly have pool time with your peers.
Yes.
So I want to know what you do. Do you go au naturel or do you shave your back?
Nobody's shaving my back, mate. Let me just make that clear. All right?
Laura.
That's not happening.
This might explain it for you. Right.
Wow. Ding, ding, ding. We have an Italian, my friend. For those of you who are only listening.
Steve, I'd love to see your chest right now. I can assure you that.
Look, mate, I'm working on it.
Camera out.
I'm working out, mate. I'm feeling a little bit, a little bit chesty.
El natural.
All right. If he's going on natural, then I've got to say the same thing, mate. But I'm telling you, nobody's coming near me with a razor.
No, but the real question is, Steve, the question is, what oil do you use? Do you use canola oil, olive oil?
Olive oil, mate. Olive oil.
Olive oil to get the tan. Get it all over you. There we go.
Of course, mate. Of course. Of course. In this beautiful Greek sun, mate.
The
Greeks, you know, they made the sun. You know?
They invented everything, correct?
Well, you know what, guys? I think we have decided that we can't decide, basically. The Italians,
I don't know. I think Morello answered well.
Steve, I'll remind you, there's an Italian-Greek saying that says una faccia, una razza, which means the same in Greek and as it means in Italian. It means one race, one face, one race. Una faccia, una razza. And the Greeks and the Italians always say it to each other. Even though we hate each other, we still love each other deep down.
You love each other.
Yeah, we're still brothers, mate. Listen, and it's like it is a privilege to have you here. And I just got a couple of questions I'd like to ask you, if that's all right. You know what I mean? I just want to do like a quick six. Is that all right? Can
six. That was six.
Six.
Quick six.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not from New Zealand. I'm from Greece, mate. Yeah. I'm just saying. All right. So listen, it's a quick six and it's really, really important questions. All right. All right. So how do you have your eggs, mate?
Soft.
All right. So sunny side up. What do you have?
Soft and runny.
Soft and runny, mate. Yeah, which Rocky movie was the best?
Number one.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
Nothing beats the original.
Yeah. He's a man after my own heart. Listen, mate, if it is a fruit and vegetable shop, is it really one if it doesn't have a spruiker?
Definitely not. Definitely not. And it's probably a front for the drug dealers. That's
there you go.
I'm loving this. Listen, mate, what is the best Eric Bana movie?
Chopper, without a doubt. Robbo, none. Cash, Robbo, none. No cash.
All right, mate, listen. What advice would you give to a new business owner? I've written this down because I can't remember this shit, right? What advice would you give to a new business owner? Would you tell them to go on a TV reality show, mate? And if so, which one and why?
I definitely have to be The Apprentice. And why? Because I'm the first winner of it. There we go.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, mate.
Or they should do MasterChef because it's a good business to wash money. These restaurants, Laura's got one up in the Central Coast.
Ethnic businessman till the end, my friend.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, mate, and a lot of black money. Okay, a lot of black money changing hands. All right, listen, mate. I got the last question for you. This is really important. Cyprus or Naples?
I got to say Naples. I don't want to do Cyprus. I probably want to get over the
It's the only one he got wrong, mate. It's the only one he got wrong. All right. Listen, I got to go because the sun's like halfway in the sky. I got to get this tan, mate. So I'm going to have to go. Is that all right?
That's
Thank
all right.
you, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
Over in Greece. Done.
All right, mate.
Done.
Take care, mate. Take care.
How do you say
Right.
bye in Greek? Ciao.
Yes,
That's what the guys
yeah.
Efaristo.
All right, mate. That's beautiful. Ciao. Ciao.
Hello, welcome
I know.
back.
I missed like the best challenge in the history of all challenges, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Stavros and I, we're actually going to run off to the Greek Islands together now. One person that could get married, not to break into.
Oh, breaking news.
Well, you can now. You can. So, Morello, this is your fault. Okay, because you mentioned whiskey.
That's what I do.
I thought that maybe there was one. I went looking. I found some. I had a bit of a drink. I thought, but I'll bring it back so I can hear you guys over the speaker. But what a sensational challenge.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up working out that Greeks and Italians both do it better. So there we go.
Oh, wow.
That's how nice we actually are to each other these days, the Greeks.
Yeah, I was going to say I can only vouch for half of that. I was going to also say I'll get back to you on the other half, but I won't because I'm married, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you to Steve for popping on and giving us some remarkable insights into how to do business.
That's how you say thank you, ladies.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So
I'm teaching you Greek now. I'm not even Greek and I'm teaching you Greek. That's when it's bad.
He's representing, man. Representing.
With a fata or a ratza. There you go.
There you go. All right, look, I could actually chat and jam with you guys all friggin' day. But, you know, we've got empires to build and, 2023 to plan for. So
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Correct. But all roads lead to Rome.
Oh my God.
Just wait and say that when Steve was here, man.
So, look, why don't we have a wrap up?
Right.
Do you want me to do it?
You're not going to make me wrap it again like last time, are you?
My name is Morello. I'm a funny fella. I walk down the street, the girls go,
yo!
Oh, that was easy.
I said yellow, and as I was saying yellow, I thought hello would be the right, but the yellow's coming. I don't care.
We'll let you
Let's just take it.
This is improv, baby.
On episode
Whatever
2,
we said was right.
There
you go. We're all going on tour now, guys.
Yeah, Morello's greatest hits. All right, okay. So I know she's getting edgy because she loves to do the summation. Okay, so let's just get her to. All right, go for it. I'm not saying anything.
You'll need to pee by now.
Okay,
so let's summarize. So we are talking about 2023. People are getting edgy. People are getting worried about 2023. We know this because Morello speaks to an abundance of business owners every day, and that's what they were talking about. So a few things we've said are have good people around you, know who you need, what you need, where you can get the resources you need to make the best decisions you can right now. You can pair that decision making with your outcomes and the things that are fundamentally important to you so that in the process you can make those decisions according to the right things, but also drop your ego so you can do what you got to do to get through it. Making sure that you're planning appropriately. No one likes uncertainty at the best of times, so give your brain as much certainty as you can by planning, but know that you can only make the best decision you can at this moment with the resources you've got, and so deal with each moment as you go and adjust the plan as you go, as and when you need to. Did I miss anything?
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, she's impressive, right? She's impressive.
Laura, you ate a whole reel of cheese and you poop in the freezer? I'm not even upset. Amazing.
Amazing.
I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak
Spanish. Wow. Okay. Great.
Do you guys want to add anything about the summary?
Well, I just think you're the best at summary, so I'm not going to add anything per se to that. I will just say, from an improv perspective, it's about curiosity is the opposite to fear. I mean, for me, that's my sort of takeaway with that. Yeah.
Perfect. Morello, anything you'd like to add about?
I think I said it earlier in the piece and in the episode, but it's like more is lost with indecision than wrong decision, right?
Yes,
so
great.
Don't sit on the fence for 2023. Make a decision, run with it. if you fail quickly and, evolve and change and grow. That's the trick.
Totally. And I think two of the most important things is open communication, like we've spoken about. Just be where you're at and be open with the people that you need to be open with about that. And then number 2 is have the right people around you, because we can't do it on our own. So whether it is, relying on or being open with your employees and maybe having a bit of collaboration, or, your loved ones, or maybe you do go and seek a mentor or a coach or an advisor or whatever. You can't do it on your own.
Yeah, you need the Greeks and the Italians.
You do.
Right?
Exactly.
You definitely need both of us. There we go.
And I'm not even going to mention the English because we're shit at all that
Oh,
stuff. I
whatever.
just advised you to do.
Whatever. Whatever.
What have they ever done? What have they ever done? Let's be honest.
Okay, Morello,
I don't know.
I've got your final challenge, okay?
Yes.
You go talk us out. What's coming up? What's next for you? How can people get in touch?
Great.
Go.
And how can you help as well in 2023?
Yeah, so guys, look, we've been around 13 years now in February, so the Entourage, it's been a really beautiful journey for us to see so many amazing business owners. But if you want to have a chat about 2023 with either myself or the team, feel free to reach out at the Entourage on Instagram or on our website on the-entourage.com. Otherwise, reach out to me directly on Instagram at Andrew Morello. I'm always more than happy to have a chat with people, send them in the right direction. If we can assist you, then we will. If we can send you in the right place, then we'll do that. I believe the meaning to life is the people we meet and what we create with them. So, we love meeting people at the Entourage. I love meeting people personally, and I'm looking forward to a massive 2023 full of lots of excitement and lots of, new challenges ahead.
And lots of whiskey.
Definitely lots of whiskey. I did mention the 3 recession-proof industries, guys.
Yes.
Drugs, alcohol, and women. And prostitution. So it's like,
That's
if
it.
all else fails, we'll become, gangsters, and we'll just do that instead.
And we know that he is also experienced in that, being of Italian descent. So whenever you reach out, who's going to help you in whichever direction you
And
need
I'm
to
also
go.
Sicilian as well, right? So I'm pretty sure we invented the thing. So
He might make you a little offer that you can't refuse.
But ladies, I've had so much. Just in closing on that, I've had so much fun. You guys are an absolute hoot, and I'm looking forward to seeing lots more amazing content coming from you both. And
thank you.
Aww.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate
Isn't he
it.
lovely? Not only does he do soliloquies, from Shakespeare, but he's just a beautiful person. And I did actually notice that you use a lot of very interesting, beautiful words like romance and heart and beautiful and things like this. I feel like there's a nostalgic kind of romantic within you, Morello.
There is indeed. There is all in the odds
At
of
3 a.m. Normally at 3 a.m.
I think you were there once, Laura. Let's be honest.
I'm still in therapy for it, Morello.
Correct, exactly.
All right. Well, look, I think that will do. Thank you
we've
so
got to
much.
wrap it up. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much.
I think, Laura, you'll put my links and all that in the.
Yeah.
So
You will be able to find this man. Do not.
You
worry.
will. You will.
All right.
All right. Let's go. Ciao.
Bye.
You've been listening to Banterpreneurs. If you have a question for us to answer on the show, submit it on our website at banterpreneurs.com. And if you liked what you heard, give us a review and share the love with a fellow business mate. See you next week for more solopreneur shenanigans.